touch on Tucker Carlson, the former Fox News host, got into a fiery exchange on Tuesday, with Senator Ted Cruz over his support for President Trump and his posturing towards Israel. At least that's what Tucker Carlson claims it to be. I want to show you this clip right now with Tucker Carlson getting into it with Ted Cruz. Take a look at this, Candace.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's, it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
what
predominantly Shia. Okay,
this is cute. It's not even, you don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
claims anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe
we're
that...
carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel. High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Candace, you saw that. What do you make about that face-off right there? Your thoughts?
So first thing I want to say is I greatly respect both of these men. I very much like Ted Cruz as a person. I have had nothing but positive relations with him anytime that I've come across him. But in this clip, it really embodies everything that I think the American people are so frustrated with, right? You have a person who is keen to go to war with Iran, and he is suggesting that it is, I guess, a form of trickery to ask him, what is the population of Iran? If you're going to make a vote that we should go to war with this nation on behalf of Israel, and it is a fact that Ted Cruz accepts a lot of money from AIPAC, so they lobby, and the Israel PAC lobbies. He's one of the senators that takes a lot of money from AIPAC every year. You would imagine that you've made some estimation in your mind that there is a imminent perceivable threat to the American people if you are in fact America first and concerned about Americans, and B, that if we go to war with them, we can win. And so in going through that line of questioning in your head, can we win this? Like, is there a threat to the American people? You, of course, are going to assess the population size. Like, we're a nation of 300 million people. How big is our military? They're a nation of how many people? How big is their military? And he hasn't done that. He's admitting, like, hey, I actually don't even know the population size of Iran. I do expect you to know the population size of Iran. That'd be a pretty basic thing if you're going to vote yes to going to war. And the reality is he can't answer that question because, like many people in Congress, left and right, they vote according to how they are lobbied. So if it's Big Pharma, they're voting for everyone to have to take the COVID vaccine because I took X amount of dollars from Big Pharma, right? Or I took X amount of dollars from this pharmaceutical company. If it's big war and you're dealing with the nonstop war, there's always been a threat in the Middle East, right? And we've lost all of those wars, right? The Taliban has our weaponry. There were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Generation 9/11 has grown up. We are demanding that all of you be able to answer some basic questions and to explain why a threat, which Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, 8 weeks ago, sat down in a congressional hearing and testified that there was no nuclear threat 8 weeks ago. Now, suddenly, 8 weeks later, there is one, right when Israel decides that they want to bomb Iran. It's a nonsense. And I am tired of being gaslit by our politicians to pretend that we don't understand and can't perceive the threats. The threat, actually, frankly, is Israel, because we go to war and it only benefits them.
You sound very, very disgusted. I'm wondering where the word fear comes into play. I believe I read, or doing my research, I was told that you feel you needed security. Obviously, some of the things that you say are incredibly polarizing, particularly in this day and age right now. Whether it should be or not is for somebody else to conclude. I'm just telling you what they're saying. When you take that into consideration right now, as you look at your life, you just had you just was on maternity leave, you got 4 kids, you're happily married, etc. How comfortable is life for Candace Owens right now, or lack thereof, dare I say?
Well, I want to be honest. I have tremendous fear of God. And that's why you have to tell the truth, right? If you declare Christ's kingship and you truly are a Christian, then your number one fear is of God, because this is not it. We get 80 years in this life, and then we're in the next. And so when you see these people who pretend to be Christians and they look at what Israel is doing, they look at the nonstop campaign of starvation. You can look at the videos of them bombing children, the children crying, shooting children as they try to run for food, and you pretend to declare Christ's kingship, and yet what you're actually fearful of is saying that that's wrong because you don't want to be canceled, because you don't want to lose your job, because you don't want people to call you an anti-Semite. I question your sincerity is what I would say. I don't sit in the seat of judgment, but what I say to people is you are going to one day meet your maker. So you better start doing the right thing, which is to tell the truth unapologetically. And I want, in terms of my family, I want my children to inherit that from me. To be passionate for the truth, which is to be passionate for Christ, right? That is what Christ is. Christ is the truth. You have to follow Christ at all times. And I've made my position very clear on this.
Who are you saying is pretending to be Christian, just for clarification? Because you alluded to.
Well, the argument that has been made by people, and Tucker Carlson just released further parts of this interview with Ted Cruz, and he says, why should we follow Israel? And he says, well, the Bible says that if I bless Israel, then I will be blessed. That is what Ted Cruz says to Tucker Carlson about why we should be following them into this war. And Tucker Carlson, who's a Christian, pushes back on that. He's like, well, let's get into the theology of this. You think that you are going to be blessed, and I'm filling in the blanks here, but essentially what Ted Cruz is offering is that you will be blessed if you allow this nation, which was created in 1948, that Genesis is referring to, this modern nation of Israel, right, to bomb, starve, kill, take land whenever they want, blackmail our politicians, Jeffrey Epstein, a lot of questions about who shot JFK and why we couldn't get those files. You're going to be blessed if you keep supporting this. And that is the reality, is that there was this incursion after the Schofield Bible, and this is what I really challenge people who believe this heresy, to look into the history of the Schofield Bible, look into who funded that Bible, to teach Christians how to view the nation of Israel. The Bible is not referring to the modern state of Israel and Bibi Netanyahu. God is not calling upon you to support the slaughter of women and children perpetually, and is going to award you with heaven because kids are crying and starving and dying in the Middle East. I mean, you do have to have, if you don't have religious fervor or religious understanding, please just have a little bit of common sense, okay? God does not support the nonstop murder of innocent lives. That's just like Christianity 101.
Back to you. Have you heightened your security? I asked you that question because I heard that you've spoken about that. I'm just asking. I don't know. Interested. Have you?
Let's be frank. I have not heightened my security, to answer your question. And the reason for that is because I understand what kind of demons we're fighting. And I put my faith in the Lord. My protection is prayer. And I try to live my life very honestly and let people know what's going on in the background. Obviously, I don't know if you saw this, but while I was on maternity leave, the FBI called me. There was a group chat with 40 Jews in New Jersey plotting my assassination.
I did not see that.
It really happened. Yeah. A man was arrested. And by the way, the irony of this is we are told, because he was upset that I'm speaking against the state of Israel, we are told that in Iran we have to invade because they're religious fanatics, right? Well, look at what we're dealing with. People that believe that this state has the right, God has blessed them with the right to murder and kill people. And we also have their supporters now trying to kill Candace Owens. That's a fact. You can go look this up. The FBI, Candace Owens, the guy who's been arrested. By the way, he pled guilty. This wasn't like, hey, he got caught up in some plot. He pled guilty to trying to murder Candace Owens. Yeah, I think that really does say it all. We are in quite a paradox here.
Hold that thought, Candace. Hold that thought. To MAGA, because when we think about the MAGA, we thought about the MAGA right now. I watched the video of you from years ago and your definition of MAGA, and you were saying it's counter to what we're witnessing today. So on one side, you might see a conservative commentator like a Mark Levin. You might see a Ted Cruz. You might see folks like that. And you look at Donald Trump and some of the things the president is doing in this day and age. And you juxtapose that to a Steve Bannon, a Tucker Carlson, even Marjorie Taylor Greene. She spoke about this as well. You seem to be on that side. And just to make sure that I'm clear with what I'm talking about, this is a quote, there's a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene on X. Tucker Carlson is one of my favorite people. He fiercely loves his wife, children, and our country. Since being fired by the neocon network Fox News, he has more popularity and viewers than ever before. He unapologetically believes the same things I do, that if we don't fight for our country and our own people, then we will no longer have a country for our children and our grandchildren. And foreign wars / intervention / regime change put America last, kill innocent people, are making us broke, and will ultimately lead to our destruction. That's not kooky. That's what millions of Americans voted for. It's what we believe is America first. How do you feel about what Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted there on X? Do you completely agree with her? Is there anything that you disagree with?
Well, let's be clear. Right now, the people applauding Donald Trump are Meghan McCain, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz ran against Donald Trump, and John McCain, with his dying breath, was a never-Trumper, with his dying breath. And I remember Meghan McCain standing at his funeral saying, this country was always great. It never needed to be made great again, to take a stab at Trump, even as she was giving words for her father, which is remarkable, right? So if Trump's aligning himself with the people that didn't support him, and the people that did support him are saying what he's doing is wrong, that doesn't mean that MAGA betrayed Trump. That means that Trump is betraying MAGA, okay? MAGA is a term, make America great again, and it was because the American people felt like our country was in a steep decline while we were being told that we had to build up every other country with programs. We had to spread democracy in the Middle East. That's been a remarkable failure. And at the same time, our veterans are coming home and they're being treated like crap. We talked about the farmers, we talked about the ranchers. That was the vision that Donald Trump painted that made me get behind him. And I took a lot of bullets for that. Especially as a black person who's not allowed to vote Republican. And I don't regret voting for him in 2020 and voting for him and telling people to vote for him, because I truly believe he was the better candidate. And I still don't regret voting for him against Kamala Harris, because I still believe he was the better candidate. But this is a betrayal, plain and simple. There's no other way to say that. And I believe what's motivating that is he took $100 million from Miriam Adelson. And these people, you're talking about Mark Levin, they are Israel first, okay? Meghan McCain, she is war machine first. How's that trust fund going to get topped up? What did John McCain do? These people are neocons because they support nonstop war, because that is how they enrich themselves. And if that is what Trump is aligning with, if that's what he wants his legacy to be, I came in fighting neocons and now I've aligned with them, then that's on him. That really is. I can't tell him what to think or what to say or who to support. I just won't support it.
That's fair, but does that surprise you? Because listen, in fairness to you, like I said, I only spoke to Trump once since he's been president, and that's when I did the whole town hall thing on News Nation with Chris Cuomo and Bill O'Reilly and those guys. Prior to that, I'd never spoken to Trump since 2014. But before he ran for president, people in the sports community knew Donald Trump very, very well. We used to go to his fights at the casinos and the hotels and stuff like that. We used to see him at basketball games, talk to him all the time. And the Donald Trump we knew was what folks, maybe not you specifically, I don't recall this, but most folks classified him as, Candace. He was a deal maker. You know what? Whatever it took to get what he wanted, he was cool with it. And so for me, this is not a surprise when you talk about him veering left in terms, or veering right actually, when it comes to some of the things that he's elected to do. But most people with MAGA seem surprised, and they do feel like they are uttering words like betrayal. To me, it's more the same. It's who he is. He's going to lean towards getting what he wants, and it's just that simple.
Okay, that's a fair assessment. I would say why we're surprised is because we had him in office for 4 years, and he wasn't a warmonger. He wasn't aligned with the neocons. He was fighting them tooth and nail the first 4 years that he was in office. And it seemed to us that and I think anybody would agree, the country was getting better. I mean, I think that's why he increased his margins in voting. If you look at the demographics, like, more black men, more black women voted for him this second time around when he got into office. Because the rhetoric fell on deaf ears when people were like, oh, he's going to do this, he's going to bring us into war. Well, we go, he didn't do that for the first 4 years. So yeah, it has been a shift in how he behaved in the first 4 years of office. But to put two and two together, big money wasn't behind him the first time, right? That was the whole thing. Nobody wanted him. It was a never Trump movement that was led by the McCain types. He can't get into office. And so did he buck to them suddenly when he took that check from Miriam Adelson and then change his motivations? Perhaps we're having to do some internal soul searching for those of us who have voted for him second and third time to wonder what is the sea change. But I think you have to admit that there has been one. He wasn't putting us into wars from 2020 to 2024.
Are you fearful at all that the Trump presidency, in terms of him being the 47th president of the United States, that it could end up being worse than anything you ever imagined?